All right. It's 11:04 p.m. here on January 24th, 2026. This is Dylan Lang, hunkering down in the underground bunker just in time for Snowmegeddon. You've reached Dylan Knows, a weekly talk show. Well, I do all the talking, you do all the listening, where I detail the stories of the week that I find interesting, that I think you would find interesting as well, and talk about them. Current events, whatever, food, drink, movies, some political stuff. And we got all that kind of stuff going on here. Sportsball as well. It is episode 643, Snow Anxiety. As I said, Snowmegeddon is upon us. The really only main reason why this upcoming snow system is a problem is due to the horrific weather conditions we're undergoing right now. Oops, that's not what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm looking for. Yeah, it is currently 15 degrees here in Reisterstown. They've got it all going through all night till 10 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, and then this is what we're looking at for the week. Yeah, it's shitty. It's very, very shitty. 16 degrees today, 26-13 tomorrow, 26-11 Monday, 21-4 Tuesday, 21-7 Wednesday, 18-5 on Thursday, 14-0 on Friday, 23 on Saturday, 23-8 on Sunday, 27-12 on Monday. So we're going to be sort of trapped in this sort of shitty cold weather that we're sort of stuck on. And there's Snowmegeddon starting to make its appearance down there at the bottom there. You can't miss that. So it's on its way. Winter storm warning. These conditions are expected to last until 4 a.m. Monday, January 26th. So that's just perfect. I am a little worried about things, mostly due to the fact that my mom lives in an area where the electrical powers and lines, stuff like that, are above ground, and I'm afraid this height of ice might wreck the wires, but I'm really, really hoping that it isn't, because I told her I'd go down and get her, and I really don't feel like driving down in this mess to get her, but I would have to, because I promised her I would, and it would be the right thing to do. I just didn't. I know she wouldn't be comfortable if I got her today and be upstairs at our house now, and have nothing happen with the electricity at her house. She would get anxious and want to get home, because that's just who she is now. So it's I'm sort of in this weird kind of zone right now, worrying about stuff. And there's the yawn for the day. But in order to make me feel better, I got some snowberry again. So I'm really hoping and praying that her electricity stays on so she can stay home and be safe and comfortable and happy in a location she's used to, and I don't have to worry about going out in this mess that's coming. Now, again, I've been giving the weathermen kind of a rough go lately, because they've been more wrong than right. And I'm kind of hoping they are the same here, but this all seems to be pointing to something big. And this isn't really affecting just us. In fact, I have friends in Texas. Hi, Holly, who has already posted that it's snowing in Texas right now. So we've got a lot of stuff rolling. So there's a storm that goes from Texas up to our coast. So there's a lot of stuff rolling through here. So a little anxious on that end. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping for the best for everybody would be if her electricity stays on. I don't have to go out and get her. And it turns out not to be all that awful, because right now they're calling 6 to 12 inches in her area and 8 to 14 in our area. That's tolerable. They were originally calling 24 to 36 in our area, so that changed dramatically. So not really blizzard conditions because it's not supposed to be too windy from what I heard. It's just supposed to be, as I said, the main issue is the cold temperatures, and the snow will start off as just very fluffy because it's very dry out and very little what do you call it? Very little water in the air, water vapor in the air. But that's supposed to change as the temperature goes up a little bit. That's why what makes the storm more dangerous than others, because there's also supposed to be like a layer of like about an inch of sleet and freezing rain on top of stuff. Now, what they're saying also to do is you can shovel, but leave some snow on the ground, because when the rain and sleet comes, it'll have a place to lay and freeze on top of, thinking it's the road, but it's actually the snow. And you go back out later and you shovel that out. That way the road stays a little bit more drier, and doesn't have the direct ice on it. That's what they're saying right now. The more and more I think about if we are getting anywhere what they're thinking about that, I probably will not go to work on Monday. I will try, but I don't think I'm going to go. My wife's company has already shut down her A shift, so she will not be going. And my son, I am 100% certain they haven't called school yet, but Baltimore County is pretty sure about it. I'm pretty sure. So they will probably call it tomorrow for Monday. Maybe longer than that, depending on how bad the storm is. And as I said, the temperatures are not going to be above freezing for the next 10 days. And so any melting we do get will refreeze. So it's going to be a tough little nut to crack. But here's hoping that it works out. So just not really looking forward to any of this bullshit. And it's making me very nervous, since the name of the episode, Snow Anxiety. Now, one thing that is not making me too anxious right now is my daughter is now safely back ensconced at her college. She was supposed to go back tomorrow, but because of the inclement weather, they opened up their doors on Friday for anybody who wanted to come in ahead of the storm. So we got down there, took her down there this afternoon, and moved her in very quickly. And I'm telling myself, and I'm telling my mom and everybody, that I'm not worried about her, because the college is investing a lot of money in these children, because they're getting a lot of money for them. And so they want to make sure that they are as safe as they can be. And college campuses are their own little entity. So they'll probably have their own grounds people, and they'll have their own technicians and their own electrical workers, water, whatever. So if anything does go down, they have people currently on site who will be able to do it quickly. They've already salted the walkways at her college. As we were moving around, I was walking on some of the salt that was there. And the dorm rooms were very, very warm, so the heat has been turned on and effectively keeping the temperatures good. Her roommate is also coming back today. I don't know if the rest of her suite mates are also. I would assume that they probably would. They have already closed schools, have shut down classes for Monday, her college. So her first day back will actually be on Tuesday, because they're closing school on Monday. But very happy and not worried about her at all, with her being on campus. The other aspect of Snowmegeddon we're getting here, which I find really odd, I mean, I guess I can understand it a little bit, but is the absolute hoarding of the grocery stores. Milk aisle was depleted literally today. Bread aisle was depleted yesterday. Eggs were all gone. Toilet paper, all that stuff was nowhere to be seen. The crowds over the last 3 or 4 days at the grocery store have been insane. Water has been gone. Now, I understand. I get it. People are worried about the electricity going off. But that should not affect your water. The only thing that affects your water with electricity being off is you will not have hot water. And you will not probably be able to make hot water. because most ovens are electrical as well, or have an electrical aspect that turns it on there. And you're probably afraid that the supply chain is going to be messed up, or that if electricity goes out, I guess they would shut down the grocery stores too. I guess that's what most people are hoarding it for, because they're afraid that, if the electricity does go out, that the power goes out, it's going to be out for days, blah, blah, blah. And that's the justification, is that's why they're getting all that food and stuff like that, because they won't have the stuff there. I guess that's a justification. But if it's because you're afraid of the snow and the ice, I mean, that could be a problem. But the grocery store should probably be open, maybe not tomorrow, but after the storm subsides. You can't just shut down for like a week, unless you don't have power, obviously. But you'll probably be open, and they will get supply chains, because the roads are not going to be completely cut off. They do a pretty good job of cleaning the roads up here. That's why I'm not as nervous about going to get my mom, because I'm sure 695, 795, 83, 95, all the different highways, Charles Street, York Road, all the main thoroughfares will be, Reisterstown Road will all be clear. 140, which is where I am also. It's just going to be getting in and out of the neighborhoods. It's going to be a problem. That's going to be the main issue that I'm worried about. So that's the same time as, like, where I work probably won't get as much snow either. So it'll be an easier trek down there, but the neighborhoods, who knows how that is. Plus, I know my side road that my company is on never gets plowed. And so that's going to be an utter and complete disaster. So we'll see what happens. So I am a little bit nervous. I used to really like snow, but I'm past it now. So yeah, that's great. I got some other big stuff I'm going to talk to you in a little bit, but we'll skip and do some of this other smaller stuff first here. We'll do some sports ball stuff. The Baltimore Ravens, my team, has found their new head coach in Jesse Minter, who was the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. Jesse Minter was a defensive line coach for the Ravens in 2017 to 2020. So he's familiar with Lamar Jackson and members of the team that were around during that time as well. Familiar with the GM and the owner as well. And he is part of the the Harbaugh coaching tree, because he worked as a defensive line coach for John Harbaugh with the Ravens, then went to Michigan and worked as defensive coordinator for John's brother Jim Harbaugh, who then took over the Los Angeles Chargers and brought Jesse with him to be his defensive coordinator. And then we hired him as our head coach. So the Ravens have never had a defensive head coach, and they're known for their defense. He is said to be a Mike Macdonald clone. Mike Macdonald is the guy who was our defensive coordinator back when we had a really, really good team, and left after about a year or two because he got the head coaching job in Seattle, and his team is getting ready to play in the Final Four. But we're going to talk about that in a second. A lot of people at the time were thinking that they should have fired Harbaugh and put him in as our coach. But it didn't happen, and he moved on to Seattle, and he was there for 2 years. So it's been 2 years since he did that. So that would be like 2023, I guess, is when he moved on from there. He is basically, Jesse Minter is similar to Mike Macdonald in that aspect. So I have high hopes for that. It also depends on who he picks up for offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens really want, I just had his name too. Forget his name, but there's a Cliff Kingsbury, that's who it is, as their offensive coordinator. So we'll see if that actually works out. And then, Lamar just has to renegotiate his contract. He's still under contract for us for 2 more years. So all you people are like, oh, yeah, he's going to be traded to another team. He's not going to be traded to another team. Biscotti, our owner, said that's not going to happen. We'll work on a deal. We'll get him out there, and we'll arrange some stuff so that our cap is not as terrible as it is. We still have $32 million under the cap right now. Not great, but it's it would do much better if Lamar can renegotiate his contract. So we'll see what happens with that. The Steelers today announced that Mike McCarthy will be their new head coach, and that in turn has speculated that what's his face? That's why I had a late start. The quarterback they have now, who he worked with the Green Bay Packers, will be happy to have him back as his coach. I don't know if this is a good coaching hire. Mike McCarthy has had a good run with the Steelers, but his Dallas tenure was not as good. So we'll see what happens with that. Indiana wins the national championship. They're the first college program to go 16-0 in college football history, because I think they added an extra game in there. That's why they did that. And the NFL Final Four, which will hash out the championship games tomorrow. We have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Los Angeles Rams. I find this I picking the Seahawks barely over the Rams, but I think the Seahawks, it's their year to go to the Super Bowl, go back to the Super Bowl again. And we have the Patriots versus the Broncos. The Broncos just lost their quarterback at the end of the game last week, so they're starting a backup quarterback in the championship game against a New England Patriots team. That's tough, but they are playing in Denver, and we'll see what happens. But I still think the Patriots are probably going to pull out the win on this one, and it'll be Seattle versus New England in the Super Bowl, and we will see what happens. I think Seattle's going to win, personally. But we will see. This week starts the first Sundance film festival without founder Robert Redford, who passed away earlier in 2025. So a lot of the kind of movie stuff that we're going to talk about here over the next a little bit here and there is stuff that's coming out of Sundance. Not everything, but some of it is. Let's see. Fortnite's going absolutely ape crazy with the collabs. They just released a Fortnite Office collaboration with Stephen Carell's character, Michael, and Dwight from The Office as skins in the game. I bought them because I like their back bling and stuff like that. They look like they're decent. They're decent skins, so I did buy them. They're also the Fortnite One Piece collab is supposed to come out this year, just to coincide with the One Piece live action season 2 arrival. I would assume that would be the perfect time to release that. It's been talked about for a while, but hasn't happened yet. But I think this is the year it's going to be. Fortnite and the Fast and the Furious is also said to be upcoming as well. And the Wave 2 of the K-pop Demon Hunters with the Sala Boys or whatever, the Saja Boys coming to Fortnite as skins as well, is set to debut here soon in 2026. So we got a lot of those coming up here. Guy Fieri shaves his iconic goatee and darkens his hair and is unrecognizable. Well, go for it, man. You be you. A giant fire broke out near the filming location of One Piece Season 3. So nothing has affected the production on that yet, but they're doing all right. The Abandons, the Gillian Anderson, Lena Headey Western, was canceled after one season on Netflix. So you have Lena Headey and Chloe Fineman have joined the cast of Red, White, and Royal Wedding. We got our first look at the Marshalls trailer, which is the Yellowstone spinoff. Patricia Clarkson is set to join Martin Scorsese's new film, What Happens at Night, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. Anne Hathaway has been cast in her first streaming series at Paramount about a woman who was abducted by a serial killer. It's called Fear Not. Is Jacob Elordi the front runner for James Bond now? It appears to be that is the case, so we'll see. He will be the youngest actor to play James Bond if he is indeed cast, and that makes a lot of sense, actually. We get our first, another Supergirl teaser. This one we get a real good look at Jason Momoa's Lobo. Looks pretty decent. We got the Muppet Show trailer set to debut on February 4th. It looks pretty funny, looks pretty good, and actually it's pretty much sold me on it, so I think I'm going to go check that out as well. Japan will gift the USA 250 cherry blossom trees for America's 250th anniversary. Thank you for that, but I'm embarrassed that the president is going to do something stupid with them because he's a fucking racist pedophile moron. More on that in a little bit. Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman are set to star in an X-rated comedy called I Want Your Sex. It also stars Margaret Cho, Johnny Knoxville, and Charlie XCX. This is one of the movies that debuted actually at Sundance this week, and it's been getting some good rave reviews. Yes, it is X-rated. Yes, it has some sexually explicit and nudity scenes to it, but the writer who saw it and reviewed it thought it was a very brilliant movie, and it is going to be X-rated. So not NC-17, nothing like that. So we'll see how that all works out, see if that actually ends up being the case. It was X-rated here at Sundance. Maybe they'll edit it down to get it in the movie theaters. We'll see, but right now it is X-rated. There is an X-rated cut of this movie that was shown at Sundance. I'm not really going to go more into this because I don't have the words to say it, and I really don't want to take up the feedback, but just what's happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota in general is just absolutely awful. 2 more Americans were killed by ICE there today. One who was defending a woman who was pushed down by ICE, and they approached him, they maced him, then pushed him down, beat him a bunch of times, and shot him 11 times, defenseless. And now the government is claiming he was approaching them with a gun. He threatened them with a gun. There was stuff like that. The videos that came out have showed that that is all false, but they're still pushing that narrative. I don't know. I don't have any other words for it. I don't know what else to say. I really don't want to get into it because it's hurting too much, and that's adding to this anxiety as well for me as well, and I don't feel like dealing with it right now. But it is a serious thing going down, and it's only going to get worse. Go to Threads, see if it got worse. No. And that's where it's proven that they are holding these blue cities and states hostage. It says that we're going to keep sending them in until you give us your voter registration things, which means they're going to try to steal the election again. So yeah, that's great. We're not going to talk about it anymore, though. That's it. I'm done. Go look on Threads for good recourse on that if you want to discuss that more. But I don't have any words, and I don't particularly want to talk about it. End of story. Switching to something nicer. We finally got them. The Oscar nominations have come out. The biggest takeaway from it, I'm going to read them to you in a second, but the biggest takeaway from it is that Sinners is now the most nominated film in U.S. film history with 16 nominations. I watched the whole entire thing live, and they kept saying Sinners' names. I was like, that's crazy. So without further ado, here is what I as soon as I get this shut down. I hate this new redesign that that Apple's done. It's terrible. That's the point. All right, Oscar. There are some snubs. Wicked for Good got no nominations whatsoever. A lot of people believe Paul Mescal should have gotten a nomination for Hamnet. He did not. And that's the main ones. So here we go. Best Picture nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Best Director is Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle for Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Best Actor, Timothée Chalamet and Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, Wagner Moura and The Secret Agent. He's the first Brazilian actor to be nominated for Best Actor. Best Actress, Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue, Renate Renasev in Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone in Begonia. Best Supporting Actor nominees are Benicio del Toro, One Battle for Another, Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Best Supporting Actress, Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir Lilias in Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan in Weapons, Wunmi Musaku in Sinners, and Teyana Taylor in One Battle for Another. Best Adapted Screenplay, Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle for Another, Train Dreams. Best Original Screenplay, Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Best Animated Feature, Arco, Elio, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Little Emily, or The Character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. Best International Feature, from Brazil, The Secret Agent. From France, It Was Just an Accident. From Norway, Sentimental Value. From Spain, Surat. And from Tunisia, The Voice of Hind Rajab. Best Documentary Feature, The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, The Perfect Neighbor. Best Animated Short, Butterfly, Forget Forever Green, The Girl Who Cried Pearls, Retirement Plan, The Three Sisters. The first new Oscar category in years. Best Casting. The nominees are Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle for Another, The Secret Agent, and Sinners. Stunts will be in another year or so, but they will be coming. Best Cinematography, Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle for Another, Sinners, Train Dreams. Best Costume Design, Avatar, Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sinners. Best Documentary Short, All the Empty Rooms, Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brett Renaud. Children No More, Were and Are Gone. The Devil is Busy, Perfectly a Strangeness. Best Film Editing, F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Best Live Action Short, Butcher Stain, A Friend of Dorothy, Jane Austen's period drama, The Singers, Two People Exchanging Saliva. Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Frankenstein, Kokuhu, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, The Ugly Stepsister. Now, so far, I've already seen two where Wicked for Good should have been nominated instead of some of these other ones. Best Original Score, Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle for Another, Sinners. Best Original Song, Dear Me from Diane Warren, Relentless. Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters. I Lied to You from Sinners. Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verdi. And Train Dreams from Train Dreams. Best Production Design, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle for Another, Sinners. Best Sound, F1, One Battle for Another, Sinners, Surat. Best Visual Effects, Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. And that was it. So that is your Oscar nominations, my friends. Oscars are sometime in March. So you got about a month to redo. I think they go in and they re-vote on them. I think on the nominations. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And then I will do my Oscar show the weekend of the Oscars. I think I will do it like I did last year, where I did it the day before, so that the episode drops before the Oscars. I might even do it on a Friday to get it done. So the episode drops right before the Oscars, so you can see how well I did. I don't remember how well I did. I'll look back on my stuff and see if I can figure out what I did. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to figure out how well I did. I think I did decent last year. Anniversaries: Mythbusters, 23 years ago this week. The A-Team, 43 years ago this week. Voyager 2 visits Uranus. 40 years ago this week. Phantoms. Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms 28 years ago this week. The 2022 version of Scream, which puts that at Scream 5, debuted 4 years ago this week. From Dusk Till Dawn debuted 30 years ago this week, and Thundercats debuted 41 years ago this week. Deaths: John Brody, 49ers player and a PGA Tour champion, died at the age of 90. Stefan Gassler, a German voiceover actor, passed away this week. Francis Buchholz, former Scorpion bassist, died at the age of 71. Scorpions, the heavy metal band. And Uncle Floyd Viello, who has a New Jersey comedy show, died at the age of 74. Into the Spider-Verse is set to return to movie theaters on February 6th. No idea why, just because. Also from Sundance, Carousel, a movie starring Chris Pine and Jenny Slate, a romantic drama that also has Sam Waterston, Katie Sagal, Jessica Lager, and Jeffrey DeMunn. Came out. Read the review of that also. It sounds pretty decent too. Blake 7 will be getting a reboot. It is a British show. Not quite as popular, obviously, as Doctor Who, but it's still very popular. So it's going to try to do a sort of, I guess, hope for a Doctor Who style type of reboot for it. So we'll see. This is kind of cool. Lay's is doing their flavor swap. I guess they've done it before. I just don't remember it. Maybe they did. Set to come out on February 16th. This year, we get Doritos Cool Ranch flavored Ruffles. We get Ruffles cheddar and sour cream flavored Doritos, which I think is going to be awesome. I also think the Doritos Cool Ranch Ruffles will be good also. And the sweet Southern Heat Barbecue Lay's flavored Cheetos, which is weird for a Cheetos flavor, is set to be the third in the flavor swap this week or this year. Twinkies, Twinkies have always been the same. They are sponge cake with a cream in it. Well, now they're starting to jump into flavors. They have Sweet Treat Cappuccino is a new flavor of Twinkies you can get now, I think, only at like 7-Elevens and stuff like that. DC Comics is finally going to print the controversial final 4 issues of Rick Veitch's Swamp Thing storyline, which was notoriously canceled 37 years ago because Rick wanted to do a storyline that dealt with Jesus Christ. Not in a bad light, but just had Jesus Christ as a main part of the storyline, and DC was not wanting the heat. Now, granted, it was 37 years ago, so we're looking sometime in the late 80s, 89, I think, is when that was. When I worked at Diamond, I knew Rick Veitch. He was one of my vendors, so I got to talk to him a little bit when I was a brand manager. But it's good to see that it says 4 issues. They're going to release it as a 4-issue miniseries. Basically, they'll probably do a recapping sort of thing so that people who don't remember it will not be lost when they read it. And then what they'll do then is once those 4 issues are released, they will put those, excuse me, into a collection of Rick Veitch's Swamp Thing run so that you get the entire story in one read. That might be the better way to do it. I'm usually not the guy that says wait for the trade. It might be easier to wait for the trade. That way you can read everything and it flows organically as it's supposed to. So better late than never, I guess. Prime's Legally Blonde prequel series called Elle is set to debut July 1st, 2026, and a second season has already been picked up, so we're going to get another season of it after that. Some interesting news came my way this week also. I've been lamenting the fact that I might not be able to take off a week from work the week of July 4th. I still might not be able to, but my son will be going to summer camp one more time this year, the same time as my wife is. So they will be gone for a full week at one time. And it's just a matter of what my daughter's plans are for the summer. If she decides to go back to camp and work there, then she'll be gone also. But if she's doing an internship or something else, she still might be at the house. So we'll have to wait and see. There's a possibility that I might have one more week to myself here at home where I can just watch movies like I did last year. Hopefully not to have the final ending where my back was bad for a few weeks. Hopefully that won't happen. So currently, southern residential orcas of the Pacific Northwest have been spotted and photographed wearing dead salmon on their heads. Now, this first appeared way back about 40 years ago, and then it sort of went off the rails again. All of a sudden, it's starting to come back now. Nobody knows why. And it's not just one particular one. It's a bunch of them are all doing that. Why these orcas are wearing dead salmon on their heads like hats. Nobody knows for sure. Maybe there's a way to get birds and stuff to come flying and then they eat them. I don't know, but nobody knows really what the situation is, but it is kind of weird to see that. So obviously with my flamingo, here it is, my flamingo light. And I have other flamingo accoutrements as well, which you can't see, but I do have them. I like myself some flamingos. There's a whole story behind that. We're not going to get into it. Actually, I have covered it before, but no, we're not going to redo it again. However, Pokemon Go has a Flamigo character, which is a flamingo. It is finally going to be released into Pokemon Go in February, so I'm ecstatic for that. March 11th finds Scarpetta, a movie based on the Patricia Cornwell novel starring Nicole Kidman and Jamie Lee Curtis arriving on Prime. Charlotte Hope, Zach Gilford, Jesse McNamee have joined the new Evil Dead movie. Barks, the Baltimore area rescue centers, are asking if people can foster some of their dogs over the snowy weekend. The Masters of the Universe live action trailer debuted this week, set to come out on June 5th. I really did not have a major interest in seeing the film until I watched the trailer, and it actually looks pretty decent. And the premise is kind of laid out for you. Prince Adama, who is He-Man, is on Earth. He knows about Eternia and all that stuff and knows he's some kind of He-Man or whatever, but he's trapped on Earth. His parents, apparently like a Superman thing, sent him away from Eternia so he could live and thrive, but he knows about his past and his future, and he knows that the sword is somewhere on Earth, and he finds it and makes his way back to Eternia and takes on Skeletor and all that. It's got a good big cast, including Idris Elba, Jared Leto are in it also, Alison Brie as well, and it's got a decent cast, and it looks really, really good and really, really fun. So might have to check that out. Oh, those names. Sol Rodriguez joins Illumen, a Giallo-inspired vampire film with Lulu Saffron, Boo Boo Stewart, Bome Aarons and Camden Calperthwaite. Crazy, but it's kind of interesting. Sydney Sweeney is set to star and produce Custom of the Country, excuse me, an adaptation of an Edith Wharton novel, which is interesting that she's decided to do that. Bodie Ray Brentnack has joined the cast of Werewolf. Kyle Gass and Jack Black have made up. Tenacious D is back, baby. So we'll be seeing some of them probably eventually down the line. Invincible Season 4 trailer debuted this week. Jason Moore is set to direct a Murder, She Wrote film with Jamie Lee Curtis. Godzilla versus Romeo and Juliet comic. I think I talked about last week, but I just wanted to reiterate that that is a real thing that will be coming soon. I also want to reiterate that the Greatest American Hero comic book is also set to be coming out soon and this year as well. Taylor Swift. Got to do a Taylor story every week. Was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. She is the youngest woman ever inducted into said Hall of Fame, so good on her. Vegas: A Love Story is a movie that's building up a lot of interest. It's currently filming right now in Vegas, starring Mikey Moore, Brandon Skellner, Paul Dano, Judy Greer, and Michael Shannon. 56 Days trailer is a thriller about a couple that is stuck during COVID shutdown, where they're trapped in the house together, and it starts off fine, sex and love and all that stuff, but then things take a turn for the worse, and they have to try to figure out how to survive. So stuff like that. Mark Wahlberg and Riz Ahmed are set to star in The Big Fix for Netflix, and Mila Kunis is set to star and produce Night Watching, thriller, I guess. Anniversaries. Pluto was first spotted in 1930, 96 years ago this week. Was not officially known what it was for a couple weeks, but it was officially first spotted this week by Clyde Tombaugh. And Heath Ledger passed away 18 years ago this week as well. Kevin Johnson, former Eagles NFL player, passed away this week. It is being investigated as a homicide. He was 55 years old. And Bruce Bilson, a director, mostly known for working on live-action Disney films from the 60s and so on and so forth, but is also a well-known TV director and won an Emmy for directing Get Smart. But he directed Get Smart and Hogan's Heroes and Andy Griffith Show. So his granddaughter is actress Rachel Bilson. So early enough, I'm not going to be midnight, but it's going to be just after midnight. The snow is supposed to start between midnight and 4 a.m. I think right now they said that it's too dry out right now, so that there's going to be nothing out there, though there might be some up in the upper atmosphere. It'll start really picking up around 3 a.m., and then it'll really get heavy early in the morning before it turns over to sleet and ice. So that's wonderful. Anxiety comes back. Biker Mice from Mars was a comic book from the 1980s, disappeared, has been brought back as an animated series, and also been brought back as a comic book too. So got that coming up. This is kind of interesting. Kiki's Delivery Service was one of my first forays into Hayao Miyazaki. Excuse me. Still one of my favorite movies of all time also. Did not know it was an adaptation of a storybook, but it was. And the writer of the said book is writing a sequel called Kiki's and the New Magic, set to come out in America. I think it might already be in Japan, or it might be coming out earlier than later. We got my son's birthday, August 25th, 2026. And then we'll see if they make a animated movie out of it. But that's really interesting and they're going to be re-releasing the Kiki's Delivery Service storybook when the new one comes out as well, so you can get the complete set. So I might have to look that up to see what it looks like and see how the movie deviated, or if it didn't deviate, and what the extent of storybook is. I mean, is it like a kid's storybook, or is it like a book like a Harry Potter book? So I don't know. So we will find out. Not till my son's birthday in August, which is 9 months away, 8 months away. Seven months away, excuse me. They always do this kind of stuff anyway, but Kentucky Fried Chicken is releasing jelly beans, fried chicken flavor, sweet corn flavor, and gravy flavor. So we're getting Snowmegeddon. Russia, meanwhile, has gotten major Snowmegeddon. They've gotten at least 5 feet of snow, including drifts that go up to 8 feet of snow. And there's video of a dude jumping from a building into a pile of snow. That's how big it was. And it wasn't a small size building. I mean, it wasn't a skyscraper, but it was probably about a 12-foot tall building. And he jumped and fell briefly and then hit the snowbank. Madeline Klein is set to join Glenn Powell and Kristen Milotti in Judd Apatow's new film, which does not have a title yet and no real storyline yet to let us know what's going on about that. Nick Jonas and Paul Rudd are teaming up for Power Ballad, a summer movie set to debut June 5th, same day as Masters of the Universe. Rose Bush Pruning is a film that stars Calum Turner, Riley Keough, Elle Fanning, Jamie Bell, Lucas Gage, and Pamela Anderson. So that's a interesting title, but there we go. Lore Olympus, an adult webtoon, is set to get a series on Prime from Jim Henson Company, and it will stick to the adult situations, and it is a LGBTQ-esque sort of storyline. Also animation, Wildwood from Laika is we've got our first look at their new movie set to debut October 23rd, 2026. Disney Plus is set to debut a Flat Stanley TV show. So that's good on that. I didn't write this down because I just remembered it. The final episode of Percy Jackson debuted on Disney Plus for the second season. It was just as good and made the series good, and it flowed really, really well, and we got a good storyline. And we got even a first look at the third season, and we got an announcement that the third season, as expected, will be debuting this year as well. We're expecting it to debut in December like the other ones have as well. So Percy Jackson Season 3 will be debuting probably in December, but it will be this year in 2026. Also, watch Fallout. Continues to be interesting, though we're not going to be watching Fallout now for a few weeks because my daughter is now back at school and she was watching it with us. So there's only like 3 episodes left, whatever. So we want to watch it together. So we will have to wait so we can see it with her. M&M's are set to debut their dessert counter flavors. Cherry chocolate cupcake flavored M&Ms, lemon meringue flavored M&Ms, and peanut butter cinnamon roll and M&Ms are all going to be coming out. I think it's one of those things where you vote on the best one, and then they will release it permanently, sort of thing. This is kind of interesting. Kenan and Kel, who had a great show during Nickelodeon's heyday, and I think Kenan went on to work, and they did Good Burger together. I think Kenan went on to work on Saturday Night Live, still may even be there still. But Kenan and Kel are re-teaming for the film Kenan and Kel Meet Frankenstein. So they're doing sort of an Abbott and Costello sort of thing. And I think that's awesome. I think that's great to see a brand new sort of Abbott and Costello sort of team. And they can go around and do all that sort of things. I think that'd be crazy, and I think it'd be successful, I think. A longtime Washington Commanders cheerleader was killed in a domestic dispute. That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Leia Sado and Mikey Madsen are set to star in the A24 adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Mask of the Red Death. We had our first look at Bait, a trailer with Riz Ahmed, set to debut on March 25th on Prime. We also got the Heel trailer, which is kind of a horror film. I didn't really pay much attention to it. Las Vegas style Sphere will be coming to the DMV, Delaware, not DMV, actually more of the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, going down to what is it? National Harbor, which is in Maryland, but it's right by the bridge that crosses you over to Virginia, and Washington, D.C. is right within your view as well. National Harbor is where the casino is and a shopping area is. They'll be building a Las Vegas style sphere there. Not as big as the one in Vegas, but there's still going to be one there. So that's interesting. Dark Wind Season 4 trailer debuted this week as well. Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is one of the absolute worst beers of all time, is, though, going to be releasing one of the coolest things of all time, an epic 99 pack of Godzilla beer. So it's Pabst Blue Ribbon Godzilla beer in a 99 can pack. An asteroid is another asteroid is on the collision course for Earth. If the one in 2030 doesn't hit us, this one in 2032 might hit us. They just discovered it. There is a higher percentage, so it's still only like 0.5% chance it's going to hit the Earth. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's still a long ways out, but it was discovered this week, and they are projecting a 2032 potential pass that could hit the Earth here. That's still a long ways away, so it's 6 years from now, so we'll find out. Speaking of stupid stuff, every year you got to have something stupid like this. Last year, I think we did the Rapture. We've done the Mayan the Mayan calendar. End of times. Everything seems awful and terrible. Snowmegeddon, so on and so forth. And you have weird things that pop up, like the one where they say that the sun will disappear for like a month. I've heard that one before. It never happens. Chalk that up to this, because this is never going to happen either. There is no scientific reasoning that proves that this could ever happen. It is not going to happen, but it's still fun to go down the conspiracy theory, weird, bizarre sort of rabbit hole we have here. On August 12th, 2026, 2 days after my wife and daughter go to the BTS concert in Baltimore at the Ravens Stadium. So that was one of the other stories I want to tell you about. My wife got tickets. They will be going to August 10th when BTS comes to Baltimore on their first tour in like 8 years, something like that. 2 days later, on August 12th, 2026, the world will lose gravity for 7 seconds. What? What? Lose gravity for 7 seconds. Why only 7 seconds? How do you know we're going to lose gravity? Who said we're going to lose gravity on that date, August 12th, 2026? Why that specific date? Why 7 seconds? Why gravity? You do realize that if gravity is gone for 7 seconds, we're dead. This isn't some sci-fi imagination thing where you're going to be like floating in the air and cars and stuff like that be floating in the air. No, you're dead. Deceased. Dead ski. If this does indeed happen. It's not going to happen, but be aware you will be hearing it from the Rapture crazy people as well from now till August 12th. It's not gonna happen. You're dead if it does. Dead. The opposite of the Oscars are the Razzies. Everybody knows about that. And the Razzie Award nominations come out at the same time as the Oscars. And for those who don't know, the Razzies are the awards for the worst movies of the year, and they are given out the day before the Oscars. There have been people before who Sandra Bullock's a good example, who was won the Razzie for Worst Actress in a Film, who went to that and actually accepted the award, and then literally the next day won a real Oscar. There are other people who've done it also. He's the only one I remember. She's the only one I remember. But there have been other people who've done it as well. All right. Nominees for Worst Picture: The Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, Disney Snow White, Star Trek Section 31, War of the Worlds 2025. Worst Actor: Dave Bautista in The Lost Lands, Ice Cube in War of the Worlds, Scott Eastwood in Alarum, Jared Leto in Tron Ares, Abel the Weekend Tesfaye for Hurry Up Tomorrow. Worst Actress: Ariana DeBose for Love Hurts, Mila Jovovich in The Lost Lands, Natalie Portman for Fountain of Youth, Rebel Wilson for Bride Hard, Michelle Yeoh for Star Trek Section 31. Worst Remake / Ripoff / Sequel: I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Smurfs 2025, Snow White 2025, War of the Worlds 2025. Worst Supporting Actress: nominees are Anna Klumsky for Bride Hard, Emma Hovarth for The Strangers Chapter 2, Scarlett Rose Stallone for Gunslingers, Casey Roll for Star Trek Section 31, and Isis Valverde for Alarum. Worst Supporting Actor: the nominees are all 7 artificial dwarfs for The Snow White, Nicolas Cage with Gunslingers, Stephen Dorff for Bride Hard, Greg Kinnear for Off the Grid, and Sylvester Stallone for Alarum. Worst Screen Combo: the nominees are all 7 dwarfs in Snow White for Snow White, James Corden and Rihanna for Smurfs, Ice Cube and his Zoom camera in War of the Worlds, Robert De Niro and Robert De Niro as Frank and Vito in The Alto Knights, and The Weeknd and his Colossal Ego and Hurry Up Tomorrow. Worst Director: the nominees are Rich Lee for War of the Worlds, Olatunde Osunsanami for Star Trek Section 31, the Russo brothers for The Electric State, Trey Edward Schultz for Hurry Up Tomorrow, and Mark Webb for Snow White 2025. Worst Screenplay: The Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, Snow White 2025, Star Trek Section 31, War of the Worlds 2025. There's your Razzie nominations. All right. See if there's anything else. Welcome to that one. No, talked about that one already. All right. Hello there. I see my kitty come down to join me. Anniversaries. Tremors debuted 36 years ago this week. Second coldest day in Baltimore. The temperature hit -5 degrees 32 years ago in 1994. I remember that distinctly because in 94, I was the winter of 94 this week, and this month in January of 1994, I was at Albright College. I was during my junior year, and it was my mini-mester. We were doing a UFO class. We had lots of snow and lots of cold that month. So I didn't go to class all that much because my teacher lived off campus and he couldn't make it with all the snow we got. But I remember my roommate was gone for the whole mini-mester, as were a lot of my friends on the same side. So it was kind of quiet and kind of nice. It was also the year that Brian Turtle and his friends created the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, which I still say they created it this month. And I will to this day say that I dreamed it and it came out of my mind and slid under through the floorboards into their dorm room because they were directly under mine. And that's where the ideas came from. I've told Brian that before and he laughs at me. I was by myself and it was great. And then the week before this happened, the heavy cold that we had during this 32 years ago, my heat went out. And I let the campus know, and it was going to take them a day to come out to fix it. So I had to spend the night in the ice box. So because it was really, really cold. It wasn't as cold as it was going to be, but it was really, really cold. So I wrapped myself up. It was one of the worst experiences I ever had. So that was great. But then they brought a space heater in there before they fixed the heat itself. And so I was fine during this week of temperatures that were in the negatives up in Pennsylvania. And this one, I remember hit here as well. So that's kind of interesting. The Baltimore Ravens defeated the New England Patriots to go to the Super Bowl 13 years ago this week. I feel like I missed something. I guess it's somewhere else. Sunglasses at Night came out 42 years ago this week. That's another good story about that. That song is used in a viral video that me and my boss Jack and a bunch of other people back when we worked at the old building in Hanover listened to all the time, called My New Haircut. And every time the song comes on the radio, Jack and I do the lines from My New Haircut. Look it up, particularly the My New Haircut Asian edition is the best version on YouTube. High School Musical debuted 20 years ago this week. Unsolved Mysteries debuted 39 years ago this week. There it is. Chicago's coldest temperature was recorded on this date 41 years ago. So not during this period that we had in 1994, but later than that in the 80s. And that was 85, I believe. It was negative 27 degrees in Chicago. And 117 years ago, mysterious footprints appeared in the snow outside a number of people's houses in I can't read the town name, some town in New Jersey. Sort of similar to what happened over in England, I believe, where after a massive snowfall overnight, people came out the next day to start shoveling or whatever. They saw these weird footprints all over their town. Same thing happened here in New Jersey. And these footprints were weird because it wasn't there when they all went to bed because the snow hadn't started yet. So it had happened overnight. And the footprints were all over the place. They were in multiple people's houses. They were up on their roofs. They were up on walls. They were in front of their doors and windows, like they were standing around looking in or whatever. So no one to this day knows what it is, but it was a weird, it was all over. And it was like for miles, these footprints were walking around, were discovered in the fresh snow. As I said, peering to people's windows, walking on their roofs, walking on fences, walking on walls, stuff like that. And the same thing sort of happened in England. I don't know exactly when it happened, but it happened in England, and they were hoof-shaped prints. So people thought the devil had come and was looking into houses. So I don't think these were hoof prints, but they were still weird prints anyway. Deaths. Wilbur Wood, a Major League Baseball player, passed away this week. Gene Rabe, a Dragonlance author, fantasy author, died this week. Dr. Gladys Mae West, she was a trailblazing mathematician who helped create GPS. She passed away this week, and she also was African-American, one of the first African-American scientists who worked during the time of unrest in the 1960s, doing important stuff. Just saw something that in Virginia, they're starting to get snow, so let's see if it's moving up any closer. Up snow forecast to start in 24 minutes. Still seems too far away for me. But yeah. Thursday and Friday is going to be absolutely shit shows. Yeah, not excited for that at all. Just checking to see if there's any other news that I need to see that's important before I get ready to do the last bit of stuff for this week. Live action Bambi movie is canceled. Okay. I didn't know they were doing live. So bingo, bango, bongo. All right, other than that, all righty. Closing in on my finale here. Snow's supposed to start in 24 minutes, which puts it basically right a little bit after 12:30. I will probably stand up a little bit just to see what's going to happen. Still, again, as I said, snow anxiety. That's the name of this episode. Still feeling it, hoping and praying that the electricity stays on at my mom's house, so she stays nice and warm and comfortable in her house where she likes it, wants to be there, and doesn't want to leave it, and is very comfortable there. And I don't have to travel in the hazardous weather to go get her, though I will do it to get her out of there. So we'll find out. This happened just before I went on the air. Alex Hornold became the first person to successfully free solo climb the 1,667-foot Taipei 101 skyscraper without ropes or safety net. So that was a big deal right now. And yeah, he finished it up and did it, and all by himself. So congratulations to him. Wearable brick clogs from Crocs and Legos are a new thing now. So they look like Lego blocks, and they are Crocs. So, okay. I got that already. My wife and daughter are going to the BTS concert August 10th, 2 days before, when all the gravity disappears on Earth for 7 seconds and we all die. Harry Styles has announced a new album. He's going to be releasing a new album here soon. Also, right before I went on the show today, Dragon Ball Super sequel has officially been announced. It's Dragon Ball Super Galactic Patrol. So we're going to get new Dragon Ball stuff coming here soon. Steve Coogan has been cast in White Lotus season 4. I think I talked about that last week. The Dreadful trailer, Kit Harington and Sophie Turner popped up. Looks bleh. Blades of the Guardians marks Jet Li's return to cinema. We haven't seen him for a while, but he's back in a new film called Blades of the Guardians. Paranormal Activity 8 is set to hit May 21st, 2027. So that's going to be coming back as well. What We Hide, McKenna Grace, Dacre Montgomery, and Jesse Wilson, about a young siblings whose mother dies of a drug overdose, and they hide the body so that social services doesn't take them away and separate them. And then they have to deal with the abusive boyfriend who is trying to find their mother. So, yeah, not great. Amanda Seyfried says Paul Feig is set to direct Mamma Mia 3. Don't know how else you're going to continue to milk the franchise, though. Amanda Seyfried, I don't mind. Paul Feig is pretty good, and you can't go wrong with ABBA, but I just don't know what you're going to do. You're talking about it, so obviously you have an idea. August 13th, 2027 sees the release of Shiver. That's, again, not for another year or so, but it's a intense action, survival, horror, sci-fi time loop thriller with Keanu Reeves, who plays a smuggler that takes a job in the Caribbean that goes south and ends up being stuck in a time loop where he has to try to figure out how to stop the terrible event from happening that he's involved in while on this ship in the middle of the Caribbean. Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool, is set to direct this. Before I do the last story of the week, big death this week. Valentino, one of the world famous designers, passed away at the age of 93, was also in The Devil Wears Prada. Roger Allers, the original Lion King animated director, animated movie co-director, died at the age of 76. Bruce Leong Siu Long, a Hong Kong actor and martial artist, died at the age of 77. Albert Henry Brown, the oldest survivor of the Bataan Death March, passed away this week as well. And Nessa Hyams, a casting director from the 70s that cast The Exorcist and Blazing Saddles, passed away this week as well. Anniversaries: 101 Dalmatians debuted 61 years ago this week. Cloverfield debuted 18 years ago this week. The Jeffersons debuted 51 years ago this week. And finally, the final story of this potentially beginning of a horrendously cold and snowy week. Will The Walking Dead TV show have an endgame type of crossover? The Daryl Dixon show is ending after their 3rd season. So they're going to do one more season of it, and then they're going to end that. The New York show is probably getting close to the end there as well. Those are the only 2 I think that are still remaining, and you still have the Rick and Michonne. You got the first show, but are we going to do a second show? So are you going to have all 3 of these shows cross over into one big crossover to end the Walking Dead saga once and for all? It's a rumor. Is it going to happen? Don't know. We will find out, though. And once we find out for sure, you will hear here first on Dylan Knows. That is it for this week's episode of Dylan Knows. Really not looking forward to the next day. Hopefully, as I said, no electricity goes out anywhere, and we survive in these brutally cold and awful polar conditions, thanks to climate change, and continue to fight against the oppressive Nazi government, which is protecting a pedophile, and call out all pedophile protectors for protecting the pedophile. Stay strong. I don't have anything else to say. Be safe, stay warm, don't do anything stupid. Be cool.